Ismail, Mohammed, is that the government of national unity will continue and may start getting turbulent after the election of a president in the ANC conference that's to come up soon.
It's already turbulent, isn't it?
Yes. What's your take?
I have it on good authority, and I'm not going to mention names or anything else. And I had an informal chat with somebody from the EFF last week sometime, and indications are that the DA is on the verge of pulling out of the GNU, and the EFF is going to step in along with its allies, and it's going to change the political landscape in South Africa again. So we'll have to watch for that. And I mean, the professors brought up some important points regarding, the functionality of the government and the ANC clutching onto power, because if you look at what happened in KZN in the general elections, MK gave them a hell of a knock. But there's also, internal conflict in MK nationally, which the EFF is watching very closely, and they want to actually hone in on that, where they want to get more support, because now what they're doing now specifically is they've got deployees to all the provinces from the central command team. And what's happening, they're rebuilding the zones, preparing for the local government elections coming 2026. So there's lots of things happening in there. But one of the things that you should have touched on with the professor was the role of China in all of this here. Because China is another major economy in the world.
Well, definitely.
And what's it been doing? And it almost outstrips the United States in terms of economy. And it's a very strong player in the international market. So where does that stand? And,
China is an important player in South Africa as well.
Absolutely. So where do we stand? Even as BRICS, I mean, how powerful is BRICS to control the United States or to do what they need to do? Because there was talk of a single currency, a BRICS currency.
And that hasn't materialized.
No, it hasn't. But, going back, it makes me think of Gaddafi, the Libyan leader, when he spoke of trading dollars in the dirhams. Trading oil in dirhams, and he wants to do away with the dollar. What happened to him? He was taken out of power. So it was very delicate in terms of that. But South African politics, we need to watch it closely. What happens in Parliament, and also we found that here in the municipality as well, because as allies, ANC making deals, wanting the support. If you go back also historically, where there was a point about 2 years ago where the EFF were adamant to have the former mayor Kaunda removed, and within a month or two, when the motion came in to have Kaunda removed, they did an about turn. So you've got to watch which way, they play the wicket. When it's convenient, okay, we will support the ANC. When they want change in their favor, any political party for that matter, they change their tune. So it's going to happen at national level. It's going to be there.
Well, MK, you mentioned, is an important player in KZN in particular. We need to consider their impact going forward. But we'll take a break for the news, and inshallah we'll continue after the news. Indeed, in eThekwini, that's a major problem, exacerbated by corruption, maladministration, and fraud, which hasn't been sorted out yet. And monies are being squandered. And countrywide, it's being squandered. And, in the Zuma era, he still says, what wrong have I done? So the impact of all this, with the Zondo Commission recommendations still outstanding, most municipalities are close to facing administration, including eThekwini. Now, until and unless that bureaucracy don't get their act together, you're going to have this gradual decline, or as one critic said, a serious decline in service delivery. I think you wanted to briefly talk about water, which is a fundamental essential in everybody's life. And
absolutely,
they were talking about the curtailment program. It came on and went off, and now they're talking about installing tricklers in what you call piping. Perhaps you just want to quickly comment on that, because we've got another 10 minutes to wrap up.
Just ahead of that, right? The thing is that President Ramaphosa has initiated the Special Investigation Unit to look into the water departments and everything else in terms of maladministration.
That's a recent recommendation.
It just happened now, yes.
In eThekwini.
In eThekwini,
yes.
But now what's happening, the new proposal that has come from the Executive Committee in the municipality yesterday, they're introducing restrictors, water restrictors. So what's going to happen, they're going to put into the main pipe system.
So there'll be low pressure.
So you'll have low pressure. But it's going to go to 550,000 households. Now that's going to exacerbate problems again, because people are going to say, listen, I mean, why are you reducing water? Why are you doing that? As it is, the water is, I forget.
Put all the outages,
Yeah,
etc.
the outages and whatever. And reservoirs are running low because the supply is restricted from getting water and all of that. So there's issues that exacerbate everything. And, I foresee that, in certain areas, you've got Phoenix, Ntuzuma, Verulam, Tonga that still have issues. That's not going away anytime soon. And I'm sure it's a little bit short.
The infrastructure is badly affected
but I've got questions and answers here that we presented to council, which we asked them what's going on. And the problems just pile up and pile up and pile up because administration is an issue and everything else is an issue. But just briefly to give you, very briefly, we presented questions in 2023 and then again a follow-up set of questions in 2024, August, where we're asking how many burst pipes, for example, in Ward 31 there was for that period. There were 248 burst pipes. And this goes to weak infrastructure, where we have the old clay
just
pipes.
One ward, so many.
The one ward. Ward 25, 211. Ward 27, 241 bursts.
And it's all as a result of poor infrastructure?
Poor infrastructure,
poor
absolutely.
Maintenance
poor
as well.
Maintenance and a whole lot of things, because then we've asked them about studies, and this whole thing goes on and on and on. We can spend a whole hour speaking about it. Estimated loss of water, the cost, and this is non-revenue, is 1.9 million for that period. 1.9 million is shocking, where, the infrastructure...
And we understand more than 50% of water is lost through underground water leaks because of poor infrastructure.
And you've got pressure reduction valves which cannot handle or sustain
And many
pressure.
years ago, the city promised they're going to look at all these underground water leaks, and nothing's being done.
Nothing's been done. For Ward 31, there was a special survey and testing that done, because we asked them to do that and give us a report back, and there's drawings in place, and they'll never replace all the pipes or anything. So we're going to have the Band-Aid fixing every single time. And water is a basic human right. We're paying for it. We're paying for the reticulation of water and everything, and everybody wants a water supply. You don't want water outages at 8 o'clock in the evening and coming and water being restored at 4:30 in the morning. You don't want that, because why must the ratepayer suffer at the inadequacy of those in power in the department and everything else? Because a city manager in November had a workshop telling us as councillors that they redesigning the departments for better efficiency, where things can get done faster.
It's taking far too long.
But the city itself is dogged by strikes. And every now and again, there's protests outside City Hall, whichever department it comes from, whether it's EPWP people, whether it's electricity department, whether it's DSW, whether it's bus drivers or whatever it is, the city is dogged by those problems.
So, we are not hiding to nothing. There's promises being made and nothing being done. As Hassan pointed out, there's no value for money in the rates that one pay. And we're saying this week in and week out. And the only solution is to really relook. Hassan mentioned there's 200,000 senior employees, they wanting to put them on pension and not replace them. But the problem is those are the experienced personnel. And if you don't replace them, you have staff that can't perform.
You have to have that follow-through.
Your service delivery declines drastically. Shaista, you have any closing comments to make on your side? What is still troubling your ward, and is it really frustrating to the residents?
Well, we also have our time-to-time water outages, in the sense that the WDO will tell you, okay, no, the reservoir's low. Control will tell you another story. There's a burst pipe there that's causing this. You actually don't know. There's no transparency as to what is happening. So if you speak to 10 people, you're going to get 10 different versions of what is happening.
Do you believe they don't know what's happening internally?
I 100% believe that they don't know what is happening.
From the head of the department downwards?
Downwards.
So it's a blind leading the blind.
Yes, they don't speak to each another. They don't relay messages. So how are you going to fix something if nobody knows what is happening?
For example, if you phone the call center, who calls the manager of the section, who calls the head, all of them are in the same page. They don't know what's happening.
Nothing.
They're inexperienced. They're just there to come in the morning, as Mayor Kaunda said, sign in and they disappear for the day and come back. Yep. Maybe 10% of the staff are really working. Now, to continue with that bureaucracy is a major problem, Mohammed. Are they really looking at I recall when I was there and I retired in 2017, and for about 5 years or 10 years, there was performance-based management contracts. And every year in your anniversary date, there should be an assessment on your deliverables. And we used to fill in documents where we record what our outputs are going to be based on performance, and your bonus is based on that.
The KPIs
And,
were important, yeah.
Now, obviously, that would give an indication to every individual, from the general worker right to the city manager, what is expected of them for the year. I'm not sure whether that now is taking place or it's being jippoed.
It's there, but they're working at their own level, doing their own thing, and there's a breakdown in communication between the departments also, and we've witnessed that. And when, like Shaista was mentioning earlier, you have a major burst, they come and fix it. Right. So when they come and fix it, the spoils are on the side of the road, and the spoils will lay there for sometimes even a month, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
And those other departments don't come and repair safe. And those things get worse.
And they get worse. You know how bad things are in terms of logistics. I'll tell you, and it's here in black and white. One of the questions we asked them, TLBs, when it's needed to come and dig out, when there's a burst pipe, 21. There's supposed to be 21. 17 at this point of time in August 2024, when we presented these questions, 17 were in the workshop out of 21.
So only 4 are working.
And that's it. If you go to the maintenance yard, and you'll see the number of vehicles that are in for repairs, and they're struggling with parts. So logistically, there's another problem. Tires, the supposed to be stocked up. There isn't enough, and there has been word of items being stolen. And this is by municipal employees, stolen and resold. I mean, infrastructure is being damaged by employees that say reservoirs, valves that have been stolen. Unfortunately, it's not being curbed. Unfortunately, and there was once a shortage of.
Isn't the mayor and his exco?
No, they are looking at
responding to issues.
They are
doing something about it, being accountable.
There is now a investigation. There's a synergy, a working relationship with SEPs to deal with these issues, and there are investigations.
SEPs also corrupt, and they on the take as well.
Let's not get there, right?
So, a major problem, countrywide, provincial, national, and indeed local government. We talk about it every week. Nothing's being done. It's getting progressively worse.
We're in trouble in South Africa.
Ratepayers are frustrated. Now with this 2% proposed hike, to 40 billion, they're going to have to find if they're not going to go with the hike, because politically it won't be accepted, because the opposition parties are saying no. And they're referring to the ANC government's, maladministration, etc. They have billing queries. The phone is not answered. And when eventually it's answered, they move it from one to the other, and when you go there, there's such big queues. So over and above poor service delivery or no service delivery, the phones are not working, and people cannot. From your point of view, I know you, Shaista, and yourself, you'll give people details of the fault lines for water, electricity, and how to phone, and because you all have been contacting them, you get some kind of a response. Is there any number that our tenants and listeners and ratepayers can...
What is that problem specifically for?
This is a general query that's come through, and I think it's applicable in all areas.
Yeah, absolutely. There are numbers. I don't have it at hand right here.
It's the 08...
But if you...
Can they find it in any website?
Yeah, it's on the website, on durban.gov.za.
It'll be 0803111111.
Can you repeat that, Shaista, so that our listeners can then try that number? Do they answer that number?
They do. Sometimes the network is congested. Just keep trying. 080-311-1111.
So, to our listeners out there, dial that number and, hope for the best.
Water and electricity.
Water and electricity queries.
And accounts.
Billing queries as well, or is it another?
Yeah, you can get billing.
You can do that. Just to add to what Shaista is saying, you can add. You go to the website, durban.gov.za. They've got all the numbers there. You can report faults online and everything else. It goes through. And the other thing also, what you can do, or you should do, is download the municipal app, and you report the faults, and you almost immediately get your reference numbers and everything back. And there's a window there that says view complaints, and you can see whether it was closed or it remains open or in progress. So use those online facilities that will benefit you.
On the app as well, you can, if you register, you'll get your municipal bill as well. You can upload your electricity readings as well onto that app. So it's actually quite handy.
Now, in terms of the rates rebate, for those that are property owners and the value is below, what's the threshold, 1.1 million?
It's about that.
They must fill in that rebates form on or before 31st March, or is it
30th April?
30th April.
Yeah, I think 30th April.
30th April.
So there is 2 forms. Just make sure you fill out the correct
And
one.
attest it as well.
Yeah, there's a rates rebate renewal. So if you're eligible, they normally email that to you, and you've applied previously, so you get a continuation. If it's your first time, there's another form where it's a rebate application form. So just make sure that
So if it's
you
your
fill out the
renewal, you fill
correct-
in that
yeah.
form, you have it attested, and you submit your ID with that to be
And
safe.
it goes through.
Correct, yeah.
And email it to the correct
Correct
address, and they
address.
must acknowledge
The,
receipt.
the address is on the form at the top there.
Okay,
the email
so
address.
a lot of people, I think, have been querying that as well. In terms,
Just one point, and also Shaista brought this to my attention. The old forms were going around 2024,
2024, 25, yeah.
and the deadline was April 2024. So people must not please use that.
They must
We
use the
have-
new forms.
We have the new ones. I think
Yeah.
Shaista does have the new ones also, and
And
whoever's-
it's also on the website as well.
Not
should-
yet.
it's
It's
not
not
yet.
uploaded.
It's
The
not-
old ones on the
So
municipal
those that
website.
had rates rebates previously, they're receiving it by email.
Via email, correct.
Okay,
So just look
watch
for the
your
new dates.
and make sure you fill in the form and submit it before the 30th of April. In terms of your SASA grants, I think you're going to go to the various places to change that card. Have they extended the deadline date for that from 28 Feb to somewhere in March, or is it still 28 Feb?
It's 20th March. It's extended.
28
to.
March.
Yeah.
So you can go to any one of the ShopRite stores.
ShopRite or Boxer. So there's a number that you dial. I don't have it with me, but
Is it all the
tells you.
ShopRite stores?
No. They'll give you a list of the certain stores. So the nearest one to us would be West Street ShopRite.
So the other ShopRites cannot do
No.
it.
And then there's Mount Edgecombe, and there's Pinetown, and there's quite a few in the townships that
I know
as well.
the Ward 25
They had a-
residents had a one-day
They had a lovely
session
system
at
going.
David Lando. Can't that be arranged for other wards?
I mean, it was nearby. We went there. It was a 5-minute process. I took my mom. 5-minute process. They
So can't we have another one for our residents of these wards around this area? Because in
Sure
town
we
it's
can.
quite dangerous. Number one, to find parking. Number two, to get to this ShopRite store in town. Because there's so many ShopRite in other areas. So what we'll do is before what date is it? 18th of March?
20th of
20th of
March.
March, we'll try to check whether our ratepayer associations can organize a similar one that David Landau had, so that if it's a one-day affair, then those that missed out, they can
Can
come
do it,
elsewhere. The Boxer stores are all over the place, you say. Yeah.
There's
then
limited.
also-
You got to look at the list.
And also
It's in
post
certain
offices
areas.
as well.
There's not in KZN. It's not on the list of any of the post offices that are doing it.
But many of the post offices are also non-functional.
Yeah.
Because if you've got residents living all over Durban, and for them to come to Durban and then find big queues, there is a
It's
major problem.
ridiculous. You're having 270, 300 people in a line.
So can we request, your Ward 31 to see whether they can arrange something similar
Yeah.
in one of the halls? And I don't
My
mind
assistant.
making I don't mind making our hall available at 189 West Road, which is bigger than David Landau,
Yeah.
to provide this opportunity. Maybe Shaista, you can look at that
Yeah.
and then
We can
Councillor
work on
Mohammed,
that. Yes, absolutely.
and then advise me which day, and I will make that hall available for that particular function and make it convenient for our ratepayers and also
Pensioners, yeah.
grantees and pensioners of this particular area. But we will keep you informed of that.
Absolutely.
On that note, that brings us to the end of News in Focus for this evening. I thank our guests for joining me and sharing some very important information. To my technician, Monli, thanks very much. And to you, the listener. And the bottom line is that as Muslims, we are approaching the Mubarak month of Ramadan in about 10 days' time. And we have to make fervent du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides our leaders towards improving service delivery, improving the performance of government. And, we have the most important weapon in turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have to make certain amals for du'as to be accepted, because the conditions that prevail is as a result directly of the amals that our ummah carries out. So it is imperative that, we into the Mubarak month of Shaban, and in 9 days' time, we'll get into the Mubarak month of Ramadan. And these are auspicious days and months. Let's make du'as. Let's keep up with our 5 times Salah wa Zikrullah wa Tilawatul Quran, and make du'as for the ummah at large, because there's a lot of challenges and difficulties going in. And, materialism influences people's lives worldwide. And, all we need is to serve humanity and ensure that we take care of people, because this was a great sunnah of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So we should continue with this humanitarian work, especially those people are facing considerable hardship. We have to ensure that we care for them. And as I mentioned, with this pouring rain, A lot of residents of the informal settlements, they dread this rainfall, yet we regard it as a great ni'mat of Allah because they find it difficulty staying in their premises, and even when they come out, they slip into the pathways, etc., and many of them get injured. And what about all the health challenges? So we make du'as that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the ummah, and those that are involved in humanitarian work should continue with the good work, and at the same time make du'as for the ummah so that our livelihoods in the country is improved. On that note, until next Wednesday, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.